What's going on, y'all? Fort Worth Fabian Horror back again with a video, man. We're doing a reaction to Spoogly. We have When Humanity Dug Too Deep. The Well to Hell Explained. Well, they ain't, man. It sound like it finna be scary, creepy, and all of that. I did a reaction to, like, when a murderer spirals or loses control, which was a video he had as well. It's pretty much, that was interesting to say the least as well. A lot of his content is along the lines of horror, creepy, weird, mysterious stuff like I like to tap in, tune into. So big fan of Spoogly, man. Shout out to Spoogly. So yeah, When Humanity Dug Too Deep, man. Let's get into this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit notification bell. If you have additional horror content you want to recommend for me, man, put it down in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel. It involves demonic imagery, unnerving sound clips, and depictions of hell. What the? Bruh. Warning. If you can't handle this, exit stage left.
The year is 1991.
Okay.
The location, remote Siberia, Russia. A group of scientists are embarking on a drilling expedition to dig as deep can go. For 9 long and grueling miles, they drilled straight down, further than any other man had gone before. However, when the drill hit the 9-mile mark, something peculiar happened. The bit began to shake and to convulse, as if it had hit an open cavern. The startled scientists began to check the readings from the drill bit. The thermometer read a whopping 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 times hotter than the temperature of lava. But that wasn't the most frightening discovery, not by a long shot. Microphones attached to the end of the drill bit recorded the deafening sounds of what seemed to be screaming, wailing, and tormented crying from humans.
Are you kidding me, bro? That's creepy, bro. When you really think about the reality of spirituality, God, everything that was formed before time, things that men in general, I was going to say modern men, don't comprehend, believe in, or understand, but men in general choose not to side with, right? A lot of non-believers. But there was always that quote that was like, I'd rather believe in God and find out he's not real than not believe and find out that everything, all, the bad things for those who don't believe are actually real. Hell, eternal damnation. Like, this ain't stuff to play with, bruh. And that's why life can be, I was gonna say creepy, but nah. Life can be very fooling. It can fool you, man. Because, hey, I believe in Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, and know he died on the cross for my sins. As long as I believe in him, man, I have eternal salvation. That's simple. That's simple. Why is it hard just to accept Christ into your life when he stands for all things good? And all he wants to do is take you on a path of self-discovery and aligning your life with him to where everything is bliss and beautiful. But it's pride and human ego just to say, God don't exist. God not real. When I die, nothing happens. It's just darkness. That just kind of shows that people don't have any aspiration or expectation for anything outside of this world. If you call it a fantasy if you want, but if there's a reality of everything beautiful and great and peace, no negativity, no sadness, hurt, pain, and you're guaranteed it as long as you accept Jesus into your life, that's a no-brainer to me, bro. This is gonna get spooks.
These horrifying sounds led to only one explanation. The scientists deduced that they had drilled directly into hell itself.
9 miles deep.
What would crawl up out of that hole and what would become of this so-called well to hell has haunted those scientists and the Siberian backcountry for decades. And today I will be exploring this Russian legend, its origins, its real life story, all that good stuff. Without further ado, let's hop into it, shall we? This video is sponsored by no one at all. Actually, there's nobody. Just wanted to pop in and tell y'all to have a good river.
This guy.
Swing to its banks. Anyways, back to the video.
I like that.
The story I read you in the beginning of this video is a creepypasta from the late 80s and early 90s, which is really early as far as, creepypastas go. But as usual with these types of things, they're rooted in some sort of real life story, something that actually happened that made manifest this creepypasta. So today, there will be two parts to this video, the real story and then the creepypasta version. First, let's dive into the real life story of digging to the depths of hell that actually happened. The Kola Super Deep Borehole, 1970. The Kola Borehole is the final name that's been given to a Soviet-sponsored drilling project from 1970. Just like the creepypasta, this drilling happened in remote Russia on the Kola Peninsula. Scientists began this experiment with one single goal in mind: to bore the deepest hole in human history. I'm sure there's a your mom joke somewhere in here, but I can't find it. Drilling began on May 24th of that year using something called the Uralmash 15,000 drilling rig. This rig was normally used for digging really deep oil wells, but for the purposes of this mission, it was modified to dig even deeper. The machine would go on to dig for 9 years after its starting date.
Are you kidding me? And after all that, 9 miles is a long way down. If you're thinking about drilling into the Earth's core or to the Earth's core, 9 miles is crazy. But that seems very surface level. You know what I'm saying?
The diameter of the boreholes that the machine dug were 9 inches or 23 centimeters, and the deepest of these boreholes reached an astounding 40,230 feet, or 7.6 miles down. In 1979, that hole became the deepest borehole ever reached by mankind, and then 10 years later, in 1989, it was named the official deepest man-made hole in history. Not sure why it took 10 years to do that, considering it already happened, but whatever. And to this day, it remains the deepest borehole dug by mankind. Drilling in these boreholes was borehole.
Damn. So who's... I gotta research this after.
Dug by mankind. Drilling in these boreholes was stopped in August of 1994 due to lack of funding, which means for 24 years, it was all operational. As a result of these scientists digging borehole after borehole just to see and examine what was in the ground, the drilling
I just got paid $60,000.
Alright, I just found it, y'all. It is a result of a scientific drilling to penetrate as deeply as possible into the Earth's crust, conducted by Soviet Union in Pajenchi district of Kola Peninsula near the Russian border. So this still stands today. And it looks like obviously they've the same picture that he showed on this is the same picture on the internet. It looks like they've kind of encompassed it or actually put some structure around it. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. I just wonder what goes on there now. Are they still tapping into the hole, or what are they doing there? You know what I'm saying?
Several interesting findings.
What the deepest active mine, 3.9 kilometers, Mount Everest. Okay, see these comparisons, man. The Koala Super Deep is taller than Mount Everest, bro. And the Burj Khalifa. Are you kidding me, bro? Wow. Bro, these are some crazy comparisons. I'm just soaking this all in. Look at this. That's the size of the Titanic, dude. and look at the Burj Khalifa, bro. Wow. But this really puts Mount Everest in perspective, right? Which is going to bring it back to the Koala Super Deep Borehole, which is blowing everything out of the water. 12.3 kilometers deep. Oh my days. The Mariana Trenches.
Finally, the lack of something called the basaltic layer that scientists had theorized were down near the 6-mile range. They thought that at 6 miles down, there should have been a thick layer of this basaltic stone, and there wasn't any at all. Instead, there were many more hard rocks and granites at much deeper depths than previously thought. Another unexpected discovery from this expedition was that there were water pools 3 to 6 kilometers deep in the ground. Again, originally, scientists didn't believe that aquifers could be this deep, and now they believe many exist even deeper. As I said, in late 1994, the project was shelved and abandoned, mainly due to lack of funding, but also because the company that was doing it was liquidated and dissolved. And everything from the actual drill site, the machines, all of it was abandoned. The holes were capped off and welded shut with thick metal lids so no one could fall down or drop something down, and everything regarding the deepest hole of all time was forgotten to the histories. What is deep inside of the earth has fascinated people for centuries, and so many different experiments have tried to find the answer as to what is actually at the core of the earth, what is actually under our feet, miles below. The United States and their project Molehole was a similar expedition. The German continental borehole is a similar one as well. And recently, in 2023, China actually began to dig a super deep borehole into the Tarim Basin, looking for oil and gas and for scientific exploration. It seems that scientists from all around the world and all walks of life want to see what is below us, and they have this morbid curiosity as to what is at the core of our planet and what secrets it might hold. As cool as the Russians are for simply digging a 9-inch hole 7.5 miles down, the findings were not as scary as the well-to-hell creepypasta implies, and the researchers certainly did not dig into hell itself. But it does beg the question, what's actually deeper than the hole they dug? What is below that 7.6 miles? Could we actually find the biblical hell, like the creepypasta implies? Or is something far more dangerous and more macabre lying dormant down there that we shouldn't awake? And most of all, how did a horrific story like the well-to-hell creepypasta come from a seemingly innocent drilling expedition by a bunch of cold Russians in the late 1900s? Let's examine the origins of that creepypasta and find out how it morphed into the very common tale that we know today. Sometime in late 1989, someone somewhere wrote a story similar to the creepypasta I read at the beginning of the video. A tale involving Russian scientists who stumbled into hell and recorded the screams of humans. These scientists tried to keep this quiet for decades, but eventually it leaked to the public. It's safe to say this story went viral, especially in the late 80s, of course. It quickly spread its way across many Christian publications as well as broadcasting and other networks as well. All of these networks broadcasting the same story. The Russians dug into hell. What do we do now? With a network called Trinity Broadcasting Network running the story with the ominous title, quote, "Scientists Discover Hell."
If 2025 is the year you achieve your wellness goals, having Whoop as your 24/7...
This is my thing. You know, after we die, we're in the spiritual plane, right? Or we enter into the spirit realm. So heaven exists in the spirit. So the only contradiction is the sense is when we die and we pass on, we become spirit form, or we have the soul, or whatever XYZ you want to detail. So hell couldn't exist in this reality. You know what I'm saying? Eternal damn souls go to an existence off of this plane. So to think that, like, because if heaven's in the highs of the highs, right, you could break the stratosphere or whatever, go straight out into space and, you know, explore the galaxies. But heaven is supposed to be past galaxies, bro, past the darkness, and we haven't even you know, hit the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the exploration of outer space. So heaven isn't something you could just, even if we had all the technology in the world, I don't believe that's something you could just shoot up into the air and you got there eventually. You know what I'm saying? So I think it would be the same with hell. Hell is not something you could just drill into the earth's core, and it's of the natural physical plane. You know, although we don't have the technology to do it anyway. But you see what I'm saying? Like, heaven and hell are places that, like, the soul, you know, is able to travel to, or the spirit. So I just don't believe it's in Earth's core. You know what I'm saying? As we were like reference hell. But with that being said,
the story was so successful that the network ran another broadcast with some new information about this mysterious hellhole. This new information was apparently that some of the geologists that were on the dig reported seeing satanic figures crawl out of the hole. And a quote from this addition to the story reads as follows. What really unnerved the Soviets, apart from the voice recordings, was the appearance that same night of a fountainhead of luminous gas shooting up from the drill site. And out of the midst of this incandescent cloud pillar, a bright being with bat wings revealed itself with the words in Russian, "I have conquered," emblazoned against the dark Siberian sky. With this new addition to the creepypasta, the broadcast networks were in a frenzy. People across the nation believed that Russia found hell itself. The popularity of this mysterious story was growing, and apparently, it seems that humans have always had a curiosity regarding hell, even back in the 80s. The Trinity Broadcasting Network, who aired this story, cited a Finnish
TBN, they would, man. TBN local locations over in Dallas, man. People driving past that area all the time. But the Bible doesn't say that hell is on earth. Instead, the Bible describes hell as a place of punishment and suffering that is beyond space and time. It's not a physical location. Now, hell on earth could be described as this is, you know, the enemy's playing ground, right? Those who fall in love with the world fall in love with the enemy because, you know, if you're of God, you know, God isn't of the world. You know, there's a home for us after all the dust settles, so to speak. So,
newspaper as the original source for it. They say that's where they got it from. They were just relaying the information. The paper was called Amanuensetia, but of course, that wasn't a real newspaper. That was actually some sort of evangelical magazine publication. And the original person who actually wrote this creepypasta into that magazine ripped it from a real newspaper called the Itella Sumen. That paper has a section specifically for publishings that are not moderated, and pretty much anything flies. There's no checks, there's no run-throughs or anything. It's kind of like social media today. That newspaper, anybody could post to it. So this story was written there because the author knew it wouldn't be taken down, and that's how so many people saw it and heard how we discovered hell.
it's like the dark
Then
web.
the grapevine phenomenon began with all that he said, she said stuff. And after the story of the well to hell made it to the USA, it had morphed into this gut-wrenching story that I read to you earlier. Many early critics of the story likened it to a tabloid newspaper article and nothing more. But then again, there were thousands of individuals who thought that Russia was in cahoots with hell itself. The story was also bolstered by the supposed audio recordings of mangled and tortured human screamings coming from that hole. And these supposed screaming noises actually ended up being fakes, of course, with some cleverly pasted audio clips making it seem more guttural, more loud, and more abundant. But in order to fully understand this creepypasta, I would like you to put yourselves in the shoes of the average person hearing the story from the late 80s. If you were in the late 80s hearing this story, you would hear that Russian scientists, people that Americans didn't exactly have a great relationship with over the decades before, due to several reasons, were drilling down into the core of Earth to greedily try to mine more minerals and irons when they accidentally, due to their own hubris, bored into hell itself. After they retracted the drill bit, demons and fire and ash and smoke ruptured out of the hole and were released back into the world, and Satan's foothold was once again reignited because of the Russians' pride. It would have been extremely scary, to say the least, especially with the fact that they didn't have social media and they weren't as desensitized to this sort of horror that we are. They didn't have creepypastafandom.com, and they didn't have Mr. Nightmare on YouTube narrating stories to help you sleep. That level of morbid curiosity really wasn't a thing back then. So to some, it was real, and to most, it was a horrifying possibility.
This is Sundays for Dogs. Sundays is human.
This is why folks need to read the word. You can't assume things of the spiritual nature and tied to God and things he did over the course of the universe just to human understanding. You got to reference the Bible. It's God's word. Don't just assume, well, hell's here on earth and we found hell. Who created hell, bruh? Who you think created hell? Who you think created the universe, you and the whole world, the galaxies? God. He has all understanding. So this whole, man, humans is dumb, bro. People are so stupid. Especially the people who don't believe.
Curiosity really wasn't a thing back then. So to some, it was real. And to most, it was a horrifying possibility. In a more recent and strange twists of events, another story popped up thousands of miles away in a completely different country about a so-called well to hell, claiming a never-ending hole exists where the screams of the damned can echo through the day and night. This well to hell is in Beirut of Yemen. It is a sinkhole that's around 367 feet deep, which of course is a far cry from the deepness that the Russian borehole was, but the difference is the opening and just the massive nature of this sinkhole is gargantuan. It's astounding, really. The hole was never explored until 2021 when a group of 8 scientists rappelled down into it and captured some stunning footage from the inside.
What the hell?
The Beirut hole is...
I'm not rappelling 370 feet down. That is wild. Why would you even want to go down that far? I wonder what the air quality is like down there.
Steeped in legends, and these legends have been around for thousands of years. Some claiming that the pit is where the sinners go to be tortured for all eternity for their misgivings. And others saying that this hole is the gateway to hell itself, and anybody who ventures down inside of it will die a gruesome death.
Dang, those are the photos.
There's water in the bottom of the sinkhole as well,
Crazy.
and the water specifically is steeped in mythos and legend. Whoever drinks the water will die horribly, or their ancestors will suffer for it. But the reason I bring this all up in this video is to show that humanity's fascination with deep holes in hell knows no bounds. A completely different culture and geographical area believes in the horrors of the damned that lie inside of the hole.
Yeah, for
Just
what
like
reason?
the creepypasta.
For what reason? God is real, right? Like, it's always in the back of somebody's mind. Oh, well, I don't believe, but I think about hell. Like, you can't be, you know what I'm saying? Like, people always just want to have a little bit of it, but not fully, invest in it or be like, well, but always in the back of your mind, you question and wonder. That's why you better be safe. It's better to be safe than sorry, man.
From the Russian borehole says that they dug into hell. Both of the holes in and of themselves are not deadly fire pits, and both have been explored. But the more interesting implication is humanity's fear and the fact that we're terrified of what lies deep inside of the earth. Where does that fear come from? Surely it began somewhere. Maybe our ancestors saw something and it was so horrifying that it scared itself into our genetic code. Who knows? This creepypasta and urban legend, whatever you want to call it, is a great example of how things can be blown out of proportion. An innocuous mining operation turned into a story of hellfire and brimstone and digging into places that we shouldn't dig.
Yeah, they stretched it.
It's not the first time or the last time that something like this will happen, but it definitely does make for a really cool story to get you thinking. Man's greed and man's ever longing to dig deeper and to go higher and constant desire to explore more and more might eventually lead to us as a society digging into our own sort of hell. And whatever crawls out of that might not be very agreeable to us. I don't know, just something to think about. As the old saying goes, pride cometh before the fall. When will the greed of mankind end? So that was the well to hell creepypasta and the real life application and story behind.
The pride before the fall. Powerful words, man. Don't let your pride get to you, bruh. Don't let it do it to you. And I just don't get where it stems from. For people can't just coincide with the existence of a higher being, God, that created the vastness of this world and the complexity of it all. It was the big boom. It was the Big Bang Theory. Oh man, there's so many things beyond what people just deem as this reality. You know what I'm saying? So comment down below. Let me know y'all thoughts. Shout out to Spookly for the content. You know, of course, it would turn out to be fake. You know what I'm saying? People just ran with a narrative, and you can't access hell from the world. You know what I'm saying? It's beyond time and space. So, yeah. What are y'all's thoughts, man? Accept Jesus into y'all's life is the only feedback I gotta say. He's the only way. The way, the truth, and the life, man. So peace, love, prosperity. We out.